Here we are with part 2 of Tractor Pong. Everything is the same. We are importing a config file to store some of our variables, so we don't have to have so much in here. So the config file is a separate file. Where did he go? There he should be here. There he is. So we're going to store some of our constants and our colors and our stuff over here. These are not going to change, so we really don't need to see them every time we're looking at our program. We're storing it over here in this module. To use that module, we import config. When we want to use it, we say config dot width. So config dot width retrieves this value. So everything here is exactly the same. We have PyGame clock, but we're doing something here to optimize the game. The only events that we are going to pay any attention to is quit and key down. That way we don't have to listen to everything. We just have to listen to one thing. Now we have an assets folder, and attached or in the same folder as this assignment, there's a zip file that has all the pictures and assets that you need for this game. So where is that stored? Well, I consistently call where I store everything assets. So here's the soccer ball right there. The soccer ball is stored underneath assets. So to get to it, we do assets/soccerball.png. We're using what's called a relative path. Now convert alpha allows us to convert the PNG file to a better format that allows it to load better onto our surface. So we load the image in I guess you could call it a PyGame format. It's a better format. And we assign that image to self.ball. So anytime we need the image, we call self.ball. We don't have to load the image more than once. One of the things that you do with games is you have to find the edges in order to bounce things around. So it's not uncommon to create a rectangle the same size as the ball, because doing a circular bounce is much more difficult than a rectangle. PyGame has a built-in, whoops, that was my microphone. Python has a built-in method that gets the rectangle of an object. So now we have that rectangle. We can use that to change the position of the rectangle, which changes the position of the ball. Dot X is going to be left and right. Dot Y is going to be up and down. And here we are again. Oh no, I moved, remember our game loop? Well, instead of having our events in here, I moved it into its own method. So for every event in game loop event.get, which we're only listening for these two, all the others are just going by, we don't care. If we have a PyGame quit, we quit the game. So that's what that's doing. What that's called is abstracting, meaning you're taking it out of some place and putting it somewhere else. Once we have this working, we don't have to mess with it anymore. We're filling the surface, but oh, look at this. Remember, we're filling everything on the back buffer, which is off to the side, is one way to think of it. It's a memory area that's off to the side of the actual drawing screen. Blit means that we are doing I can't remember what that blit stands for, but basically we draw the image on the screen, and we're drawing it in pixels. So there's our image to draw. The rectangle gives us the location. It's a lot easier to deal with rectangles than images. And so this draws the rectangle says, draw the ball here. Well, we have to update the PyGame display from the back buffer, and we keep going at 60 frames per second. Now, I wrote this game in object-oriented programming just because I like object-oriented programming, and you don't have to pass things around. It's easy to make little methods and things to break things up into pieces. It's a lot easier to troubleshoot code when you have chunks of code instead of one big long program. So down here, we're creating a tractor Pong instance is one word for it, or you could call it an object from the tractor Pong class. Then, to start the game, we say tractor Pong dot game loop. Well, game loop is one of the methods that belongs to the tractor Pong class. So, let's see how it works. There it is. There's our ball. 10 pixels down, 10 pixels over. Well, if you want to experiment with it, let's change our numbers. Let's make it 100 over, and let's make it 200 down. 2000 would not be good because I'd move it off the screen. There it is. So, of course, typing in the numbers for something on the screen is not going to be a good way to do this. However, it does show how we can move the ball around the screen by moving the rectangle. The rectangle has a lot more methods and properties for us to work with. All right, so now we have created a game loop. We're capturing events. We're only capturing the events we need, so that makes the game run better. We have a clock to keep us running at a regular speed. We have an image that we've loaded that we're going to display. We've set the initial position of the ball. Let me undo that and bring it back. And we have our checking of events. You know, if something happens, which the only event we're watching for right now is close the program. And then there's our infinite game loop, which keeps going around and around. Everything's drawn on the back buffer first, which is that area of memory to the side of the surface. This draws everything on the surface. It updates the surface. And we go around 60 times per second. Well, in our next tutorial, we actually move something.